Welcome back to my channel, and today we'll be discussing Season 3 of the game. And so basically in the beginning of Season 3, what happens is that we basically find out that Janae is pregnant and all that stuff, and Melanie and Duran are dealing with it and all that stuff. And basically they had this pact in where Duran would pay for Melanie's medical school, so she would be able to go to school and everything, so she could become a doctor. And because he cheated on Melanie and all that stuff, and then after he cheated on her and everything, the whole situation happened. She slept with Trey Wiggs and all that stuff because she needed insurance, and she was trying to heal and everything, and she just wanted to feel loved and all that stuff because again, her boyfriend that she's been with for years has literally just cheated on her and all that stuff. Literally slept with another woman, then lied about it, and then tried to make it out seem like they only kissed. What? Yeah. And after that, he tried to win her back after he done cheated on her. And then as Melanie was making sure that she would get out safely, she hired Trey to move her things and his bodyguard and all that stuff. So he put him in a headlock and all that stuff, and he basically ended up injured his knee. Or if it wasn't that, it was when Melanie was saying that she got into bed with Malik, but she actually didn't get into bed with him. She didn't sleep with him, but because she said that to Duran, he thought it, and then he tried to fight Malik because of that, and that could have been when he injured his self, but I don't know if that was the part when he injured himself. So basically after that, they're trying to deal with the fact that Janae is now pregnant and all that stuff, which is one thing I never understood about that was why the fact that she would deny that Janae was pregnant or that the baby was his, because when they were dating, there was literally a whole scene of them sleeping together. So that makes no sense. And there was literally a time where they moved in together. How could you deny that? How could you be... I understand that she was trying to grieve and all that stuff, and that she was sad about the breakup, but it's this man done cheated on you and embarrassed you and lied about it, played the victim, never took accountability for his actions, and then when he tried to take accountability in his own way, he'd be oh, it was a mistake. And then on top of that, when she literally didn't do anything, all she did was hang out with a friend that she knew in college because she used to tutor him because he needed help and all that stuff, he would make it be a bigger thing than it was. And on top of that, the mother was literally there at their brunch thing, and it just was blew way out of proportion. It was just too much. And then after that, he realizes that because of his injury, he can no longer basically afford to take her to medical, to pay for her medical school anymore. So she ends up having to go to her parents, and her parents hate Duran and all that stuff. Well, the mother hates Duran. Basically, they don't like Duran because of he's an athlete and all stuff, and all the foolishness that she's been through because of him on top of that. And honestly, I don't know what it was, but when I was younger, I didn't really care for the mother. But now that I'm older and I'm a teenager, I actually do agree with the mother. And I feel like it would be funny if someone made a compilation of her talking about Duran or something like that, because she was right. Duran ain't shit, and I need to see that compilation of her talking about him. And then after that, she ends up having to ask for the money from her parents and all that stuff. Literally has to beg for it and all that. And then after that, there's a whole health security issue thingy, and he has to put out $5 million for his kid and everything. And then after that, they get a whole argument about it, and it's basically he uses the $5 million for the kid and everything. So if anything happens to him before he's born or anything, or after he's born or whatever, it's that situation, they have money to take care of their kid, and then she's but you can't take care of me. And it's and then this is what drives me insane about this whole situation. I hate the fact that he is always playing the victim, and it's annoying because of your actions and because of your choices, that is why you are in the position that you are in today. And I also hate the fact that Melanie just literally is I don't know how to explain, she just doesn't see him for who he is. If it was me and I had been put in that situation, I would have left, because there's no amount of embarrassment I'm taking. There's no amount of, I'm sorry I'm taking. I would have just left and never gone back together with him. But Melanie is a different breed, and I just don't get Durin, honestly, to me, is just a narcissist and just a horrible person. Because there's actually an episode, like, in season 1 that he's, like, literally, it's like Jason and, Malik are fighting, and then he's trying to, like, use, their fighting so he could, like, get better advantages, because when they're fighting, they don't like each other. They give more things to Derwin and give him better spots in football, so he would literally plan to like use it, and so Melanie had to be like, don't do that because God wouldn't want you to do that. And it's like, this just shows you the type of person that he is, and the fact that she had to talk him out of it and use God as a way of like making him not do it is just showing you how much of a piece of shit that his character is. I don't like his character, honestly. He's just very annoying. And then after that was the whole scenes of where, like, Janae had to literally talk him into, like, not bailing out on his own kid. Because there was a scene where he finding out that he busted his knee, and then she's like, come out. And then this point, I think she's, like, in her second trimester of her pregnancy, and she's like, oh, I can't even leave you anymore. Like, she's basically saying that, I'm not abandoning you. Why are you abandoning me and all that stuff? And then she has to literally talk him into like staying there for the kid. And then he goes into the thing to like take out $5 million in health insurance. And then Melanie and Derwin have like the argument about it. But this is the thing that Melanie needs to realize: because she has chosen to accept this man into her life, and because he has chosen to cheat on her and all that stuff, and then the whole Janae situation, getting her pregnant, all that stuff, she has to realize that she will never come first, because at the end of the day, because of the choices that he has chosen to make, that baby will always come first. All she's going to be known as is the baby mama or the stepmother or whatever, because at the end of the day, that child will always come first. Personally, I don't know how she did it, why she was in a relationship with them, or why they even got back together, in my sense. But all her character needs to realize is that the baby will always come first. And I just never understood why she stood there in that relationship, because that relationship was horrible, that relationship was toxic, and that relationship should have never ever come back together. But for some reason the writers were in love with it, and I don't know why. So then after that, she basically graduates, she gets her white coat, she becomes a doctor and all that stuff. Oh yeah, and the white coat situation was embarrassing, because like you found out that your girlfriend doesn't get her white coat because she was dealing with all your foolishness that you wanted her to be in the football world for, and instead of helping her and comforting her, you laugh at her. Like, what type of boyfriend does that? That's just annoying. And then, like I said, after that, because of his consequences and his like, what do you call it, their plan or whatever, she couldn't get it because, like I said, he cheated it. That left him getting a broken knee, because instead of him just being faithful and just being loyal to her, had he not done that, she wouldn't have left. She wouldn't have slept with Trey. She wouldn't have, done those things. Had he just been loyal, they probably would have waited a couple of years. They would have gotten married and they would have been good. But no, he had to go out there and cheat, lie, embarrass her, disrespect her, undermine her, and treat her horribly, leading to him deciding, oh, I want her now, even though I cheated on her. Him having to literally fight Trey and all that stuff, and then him having to fight Malik because he doesn't know how to use context clues, because she said she got into bed with him but she never slept with him, and he took that there. And then either the time he fought Trey or the time he fought Malik was when he got his injury. Then he blamed her for it, and then after that he basically like blamed her for it. Was like, oh, you're the reason why. And it's like, no, sir, because you could not keep your dick in your pants. That's why you are in that position that you put yourself in. His character changes never take accountability, and that's why I don't like his character. He's just a narcissistic and he's just so annoying. It just reminds me of like those dudes that pretend to be nice so they can get things out of women, or will say these nice things so they can get things out of women, or will like do things to women and then talk about how they love women, they protect women, they care for women, and in reality don't, and it's just words. And like I said, she should have just been a doctor and ended up with Jeremy, or ended up with somebody else that was good. But no, for some reason they love Melanie and Darwin, even though they're toxic as hell and they're not good for each other. And like I said, she needs to realize that she would never come first in that relationship. It will always be that baby, because at the end of the day, he made his choice. He did what he wanted to do, and those led to those consequences and those actions and all that stuff. And I just felt like it wasn't fair to Melanie, because she didn't deserve to be going through all of that. She should have just become a doctor, took time for herself and entered into a healthy relationship, but instead she wanted to be with Derwin and all his baby mama drama, and she can't take can't take ability for his actions ass. I don't understand the hype around his character. He was just that guy that was quote unquote nice, but was actually a horrible, vileful human being of a character. And then on top of that, she decided to be in that relationship with that doctor. And honestly, I don't understand his character. The only good quality I'd say about his character that he was honest and he didn't lead her on. And he should have told her, yes, I'm seeing other women. That's one thing you should value. And what men do is honesty. And honestly, I just can't take liars. But honestly, I would, after that situation with that doctor and everything, I would have just stayed my distance and do what I have to do, and I would not repeat that. But of course, she wanted to be in a relationship with a doctor, even though he literally was out here hauling around and could have possibly given her STD. And then when she did the same thing, he had the audacity to be like, "Oh, the student becomes the master or teacher or whatever," and I'm like, "What? That's something else." And then of course she went back to Duran, and she was like doing both of them at the same time. It was just a hot mess. And then there was the Jason and Kelly storyline of them getting divorced. One thing I did not like about the show and did not understand was how mean and vile it came down to the divorce was. And when it was a turn for like Kelly and why she wanted a divorce, she had like her legitimate reasons. But when it came up to Jason, he didn't really have any reason to get divorced from her because she seemed to be actually a good wife and everything. And she was very supportive and all that stuff. And then when it came down to the divorce, he was very vile of everything. Like, when it came down to her wanting to have a good school district for her child, her wanting to get a condo so they have a place to live and all that stuff, and then she wanted to out her for cheating when in reality she actually never did cheat on him at all. She did like take a guy's phone number and they like went out, but they didn't actually do anything versus him who literally went to a whole strip club, found a girl, literally licked her with freaking vodka and soda on her stomach, and then took her back to their place, and they did the deed there. It's just, his character is just hypocritical at best, and just wow, just horrible character. It's like there are no decent guys on the show. The only decent person on the show that I can find is TT and Rick Fox, and that's it. And then on top of that, his character literally attempts to pimp out his own wife, which is just horrible. It's like, if your wife is literally just coming to help you and be supportive so you can get more whatever gigs they do for football for them to become more famous or whatever, let her. Especially since she's trying to be respectful and she's trying to be like have a name for herself. She's not trying to be, an object. Let her, you know? So that on top of it, added on to the divorce. Honestly, I feel like the only way they would stay together is if they had more boundaries and if he had respect for her. But that's literally the only reason I will see them like staying together. But until that ever happens in the show, yeah. And then after that comes out the falling out of Melanie and Derwin. So basically, Derwin finds out about what do you call it, about the doctor that she was seeing, and then he basically explains the reason why he was mad was because she was doing it with him, like, but they were just having a thing where they would just like play board games and like check in and stuff. But the thing was, like, this is the same man who literally cheated on her, and it's like, so you're mad at her for doing the same shit that you did. That's what I don't understand about men like him. Like, they will do the same shit, vile, raunchy, terrible, disgusting, to you, but you do it back, and it's the end of the relationship. It also blows my mind about women is how when their man literally does the same shit to them, and by same I mean they cheat on them first, they stay with them, like they'll get mad at them, leave them alone for a couple of days, and they come back and then they stay. But when the men do it, it's a different story, and they're like those type of men do, it's a different story, and they're hypocrites. Like, I don't understand that. And then after that, it's like Kelly and Jason like divorcing, and then somehow they brought like a athlete of their first first like sorry, they have like their first opening of a gay athlete and all that stuff, and I just don't understand how that storyline even came up to be. And then they were trying to make this like Sunbeam the first male gay. So, I mean, well, it doesn't make any sense because the whole point of Sunbeams was for it to be women and them just being women and talking about themselves and all that stuff and not needing to be like around men, because like this is like an area for openly women to talk about their issues as women and all that stuff, and them doing girlfriend things, wives things, all that stuff. But they were trying to like invite him in, and it just never made any sense to me. And I'm still like shocked on why they did that episode, because it just came out of nowhere, like no warning sign, just out of nowhere. And then on top of that, the only reason Jason even wanted to help was because he was getting paid for it, not out of the goodness of his heart or because he cared about their issues. It was just money. Just adds more on top of his vile character that he is. And then on top of that, I want to know who said something, like who basically like told, because honestly, whoever said something, I just want to know. And then after that is like the episode where we finally meet Malik's father, and they basically explain that what happened was that Malik basically deserted and left Tasha, and because of that, she became a single mother. And then we also learned that he literally deserted her, so after that he went to college, he started a family of his own. Tasha got stuck raising Malik. Then he became a famous football player, and that's what happened. And he literally tried to like call him, contact him, and all that stuff, and he just never answered. And then after that, he basically tried to make amends with him, and he basically just gave him his phone number. And then after that, we see like them like bonding, and them both and crying and all that stuff. And honestly, I honestly see like why Tasha did what she did, because she went through so much raising a Malik, especially by herself and all that stuff. And we also do see that like there's like a later episode where they do end up bonding, but after that he ends up like abandoning him again. So I see Tasha's point, and I understand why Tasha is the way she is. But there's also like another point where he deserves to know who his father is, but at the same time, does he really deserve to know the father? Because the father did abandon him, so he himself could have a better life, and that is very selfish. And he wasn't thinking about Tasha, because Tasha missed out on a lot as a teenager. He was only thinking of himself and not of his son, which was really, really selfish for him to do. Welcome back to my channel, and today we'll also be talking about the rest of the episodes of Season 3 for the game. And so basically we leave off on an episode of basically where Kelly and Jason are still going through like the divorce process and all that, and she basically ends up like breaking up with Joe because basically Kelly wanted a car for her kid to drive into, and she was basically like, he didn't want to give it to her, but the car was like basically meant so she could drive like her daughter to school, and because she needed one and all that stuff. And he's he has to provide for like the kid and his and stuff like that, and the wife and all that stuff, even though they're not like married or whatever. It's basically she ends up going to she ends up going on a date with Joe, and then Jason finds out about the car incident, and then he ends up like really, really mad, and he ends up like almost hurting Joe, and then he has to calm him down. Then he leaves, and then he takes the car with him, and then I think she ends up calling the police for like a stolen car, and then he ends up like making it like seem like it wasn't actually stolen, and he basically like, oh, I bought this car for my wife and all that stuff. And then they just leave it alone because he's like famous or whatever, even though it's like technically the ex-wife, but it's still wife because like they're not divorced yet, basically. And then after that there's like a whole thing of where like they're still going through like the divorce process. So Camille likes Jason, and then after that Tasha ends up hooking Camille up with Jason because she's mad at Kelly for staying at the job that fired her and all that stuff. And then after that Darren and Melanie are getting married because Darren proposes. First of all, that was the most ridiculous and ghetto proposal I have ever seen. I'm not sorry. I don't know why I'm always apologizing or I'm saying I'm so sorry, but no. Honestly, all I know is that proposal was so ghetto and so disgusting, and that I hope nobody ever proposes to their wife or their girlfriend like that. Like, no man ever proposes to their wife or girlfriend like that, because that was ghetto and that was just ridiculous and it was cheap and tacky. I'm so happy because I know that my future boyfriend would never propose to me like that, because that was so ghetto. Who literally goes up to their, basically like their future wife and just literally flags them down and is like, literally goes up to them and is like, oh, shut up and marry me, and then he gives her this tiny ass fake diamond ring, and it's like, that's so disgusting, because that ring is supposed to be something that you're proud of, to show to your friends and your family, to show that he genuinely cares about you and all that stuff. Y'all can see I'm materialistic or whatever, but I'm sorry, there's no way I'm rocking, number one, a fake diamond ring, and number one, no, the one is that is so tiny that you can't even see it. I'm not doing that. I am very happy to be materialistic because that's gonna keep me happy. I'm sorry, but like, for me, there's a lot of things that show about how a guy feels about you, how he communicates with you, how he proposes to you, the type of ring he buys you for your wedding, like how big it is, how many carats it is. That shows that how he behaves towards you, how he's loyal towards you and all that stuff. And then on top of that, there's also like buying dinner and him asking you out, like all that stuff. Like, if he asks you out and if he pays for the whole dinner, that also shows how he feels about you, because no man is literally gonna be like, oh, 50-50 or any of that, if he truly cares about his woman, because he wants to make sure that she's taken care of. But their marriage was something else. And then after that, there was the Chauncey and Tasha episode. I'm honestly very happy that episode happened, because it really went into the depth of Tasha's life and Chauncey's relationship, and they explain why they're the way they are. But this episode truly hit the postmark on the relationship, and I'm very happy that she got closure, because she really did not deserve that. And if it was me, I would just not talk to him and ask him his apology, because first, how dare you leave that poor woman, a single mother, and then literally try to blame it on her and be like, oh, it's because I followed my parents' choices and I was foolish and I did my best. And it's like, you, at that age, honestly, I feel like what he should have done was that he should have stood up to his parents, should have been, no, I'm going to take care of my child, I'm going to take care of my baby mama and all that stuff. It shouldn't have been baby mom, it should have been a wife, but that's their prerogative. I'm going to take care of them and all that stuff, and do what I have to do as a father in whatever he is to Tasha. And then he ends up like running away and all that stuff, going to college. And then after that, he basically talks about how he is like, his worst thing was ever doing was like turning Tasha into a bitter woman. And it's like, yeah, that's her whole arc. She is bitter because she got left a single mother at 16 and had to grow up Malik all by herself. And that's why her character's relationships fail. On top of that, they also discuss her daddy issues, but they didn't go too much into them. But I feel like they should have really discussed them, because that also would have like went into why she went for Chauncey in the first place, because a lot of relationships that girls get into is usually based on their relationship with their father and all that stuff. And my theory is because her daddy did leave her, is why she went for someone like Chauncey, just for the symbolism of her daddy leaving her for Chauncey to leave her, which is even more messed up on a portrait literature level. And after that, they have like Darren's engagement party and all that stuff, and then after the engagement party, there's like an incident with Kelly and like, is his name Joe or something? I don't know, not Joe. Roman. I like believe in that and all that stuff, and then like they see on the TV, because they have like this thing where Malik is a freak and he's nasty. relationship. Honestly, I don't know what to say about their relationship because their relationship was just something else. It was just weird, and it was just kind of just off-putting to me because yeah, there was that one scene where they tried to make them cute and they tried to make them have chemistry, but it just wasn't working and like felt forced. And then literally the whole scene of like he literally like bought ice cream for Kelly's daughter, and then after that they got into an argument because she didn't want her for him to know more about his daughter, for Kelly's daughter, because they've only been going out for a little bit, and the only thing they've been doing is like having sex and all that stuff. And honestly, I understand if you're a parent and you're going through divorce and whatever, and you're seeing somebody, you don't want like them to be around a stranger because anything can happen, and you just want to protect your kids. And I don't understand how that's so hard to get through that character's head and through his head and through his skull. And then, sorry for referring to that, but the recorder almost cut off. And then after that, they end up getting into an argument about it. And, she wants him to leave because, they're arguing, and, you don't want to be around somebody arguing with because anything can happen. And then after that, ends up calling her a bitch. And I'm like, if there's one thing that's a red flag, is if you're literally just arguing with your partner and they literally call you a bitch or a whore or a slut or something, or they call you out your name, especially as a woman, and because I am a woman and I'm a girl, I'm a female, all that stuff, born female, girl, woman, will die female, girl, and woman. Biologically, I am one, and I am a female girl. I'm just saying I'm a woman because there's so much confusion in today's generation. Like, I'm a woman, I was born a woman, I'm a die a woman, I'm a woman, I'm biological, I'm a real woman, I'm not no fake trans woman, I'm just a woman, okay? I'm a woman, I'm a female, like I said, I was born one, I'm staying one, and I'll die one. So anyway, especially I like a woman and all that stuff, that's just like a big ass red flag. And then after that, my theory is that Jason would have come in, he probably would have attacked her and something would have happened. And then after that, Kelly's daughter basically ends up like telling Jason about like the argument and all that stuff, and she got scared, and then after that they end up like fighting and all of that, and then he wants her to stay, but she doesn't. And then after that, he's kind of like hearing about Jason and Cameron's relationship. Is kind of jealous because like, what should I have done this? Should I have not done this? And all that stuff. And then after that, we basically leave off after them like going through the divorce and all that stuff. And it's like opposite sides. Kelly, she's sad, even though this is what she wanted in the beginning, but Jason's happy because he didn't want to get a divorce. It's like a parallel to each other, which the writing on the show is actually really beautiful if you literally script through it and look at it. And then after that, what happens after that? And then after that, Janae is about to have a baby, and it's like a false alarm. And then what's her character's name? Melanie is like, just because I won't be the first to have a baby, I just want to be a wife and all that stuff. So she ends up like rushing the wedding. And personally, like I said, I could never put myself in this situation. I cannot do it because honestly, that's way too much stressful, and that's too much disrespect. Like the cheating, the not being able to communicate, the verbal and emotional abuse, all that stuff. I just could not be in a relationship with her, and it's just too much. Like any guy that treats me the way he treated her is horrible. And then on top of that, the amount of sacrifice and shit she had to deal with and stuff that was being thrown at her constantly in that relationship is just terrifying. And the fact that she had to beg for that was very. You shouldn't have to beg from your fiance to be the first husband and all that stuff, with the first baby, all because you have to pay for his mistakes. Like I said, they should have never gotten married. They should have never come back together. Not only should have just become a doctor, Jeremy should have just been a famous football player, and they go their separate paths. He should have ended up with Janae, she should have ended up with Germany, or whatever his name is, and that's how the show should have ended up. But for some reason, people love toxic relationships, and they end up together, which hurts me and makes my head hurt, but that's just how the show ended. And then after that, we also have Chauncey's wife or whatever. And honestly, I actually like her character. Yeah, she's crazy and she's ghetto and she's hood, but she's just an all-around fun character. And there's how she doesn't take shit from anybody. And she was literally well and willing to beat Tasha's ass. And I was just like, damn, they would actually be best friends if it wasn't for Chauncey. I mean, they could still be best friends. But honestly, I just love them. And I love the fact that she literally said it straight. She was like, we are so similar, and that's why he was dating him. But then he's kind of like, no, it's because I fell in love with her and all that. Honestly, wish she was on the show as a regular because she would have been so funny. She would have been so hilarious. And her and Tasha would have, like, literally been. Not Tasha. Yeah, Tasha. Yeah, Tasha would have been, honestly, the best friends. And they would have, like, made me laugh and made me giggle the whole time. And they're actually so funny. I just, wow. They are literally the duo. And the fact that she literally said we are the same is literally killing me. Then on top of that was the fact that like this but Tasha but not Tasha Chauncey literally reminds me of Marcus if Marcus was on the game. And their character is literally the same. I feel like they just have the same personality, and it was actually really funny. And then after that, you have Poochie's character, and I thought her character was okay, not the best. And then they had that whole incest thing, which was just so weird. And then they had like the whole incest thing, which is like really weird to me. It's just like made me feel so uncomfortable because like the whole time the writers made you like think, oh, that like looked at him wet and literally slept with his sister. And then they actually find that he didn't sleep with his sister, but his best friend, to the point where his character really makes jokes about it. His friend makes jokes about it, and one of his friends even goes as far as saying, "Oh, it's only your half sister," which is still nasty because it's still incest. And I just can't believe they actually did that storyline. It was a weird, but funny, but honestly, just weird. And I'm just glad he didn't sleep with his sister. It would just be weird if he did. And honestly, it would have been nasty too, because it's like they could have chose any storyline, and they chose that one, and that's how they chose to introduce your character. They could have done so many other things to introduce your character, but that just one storyline just had to pop right in there. So then after that, basically Jason gets arrested because of the assault that happened to Roman, and then after that, makes Kelly realize that she actually does want to be with him, and that making her basically realize that she does actually want like Jason, and because of the arrest and everything that happened and what's happening between them because of the arrest and everything, she kind of realized I actually do want him and that he was the man for her and all that stuff. And they're basically trying to get back together. And then after that, Tasha basically reveals is that she set Jason up with Camille out of anger because the people that she was working with fired her, and she stayed, so she did that. And then Kelly basically ends up punching her. And then after that, Melanie has like a meltdown, and Duran has to talk her out because she was against the wedding. Her parents decide to show up. Then they have the wedding, but then plot twist, Janae ends up in labor. And I feel so bad for Melanie because she literally has to put her wedding on hold just so Derwin's baby mama can give birth. Like I said, I would never, ever be in a situation like that because I would never be with a man who cheats on me and then on top of that has a baby on me too. I could just never do it. That's just not me. I don't know how her character did it, but she did it. So then after that, Derwin and Melanie end up getting married, and honestly, I just personally wish they didn't get back together or got married. And then even the vows that he had made and everything was just I don't even know how to put in words. It was literally her sacrificing herself over and over again, and then he was like, "Oh, this ain't your fun one," da, 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 da. But it's like looking at this relationship, it's just her sacrificing herself over and over again because of all the things that he does and the chaos and the destruction that his character continued to make throughout their whole relationship, and probably in their marriage too. Not even probably, definitely into their marriage, because the amount of stuff that his character continuously did that she forgave him for. They would like break up, argue, forgive, break up, argue, forgive. And it was him doing the most. And before they say, oh, she did stuff too, it was like when she did stuff, it wasn't even to the level of chaotic shit that he would do. Like, for example, she cheated on her. He said that he just kissed the other character. He literally slept with her. She was trying to hang out with a friend that she literally tutored in college. They had no romantic relationship or anything. and she just wanted to hang out with her friend. He wouldn't allow it. And then after that, it was when he cheated on her, and then they broke up, that she had and pursued a intimate relationship with him. Like I said, I don't understand why they chose for them to get married. She deserved so much better, and his character deserved nothing. It's like the constant can't take accountability for his actions, the constant lying, cheating. Like I said, his character was just, how do I say this? His character was just terrible, very narcissistic, very annoying. Like I said, accountability, his accountability for the lack of the actions that he, like, for his actions for the lack of accountability that he took, the lying, the cheating, the constant the digs at her. It was just annoying, and he was just given like narcissistic vibes. And it was like every time he would like mess up, he would literally pray to God and stuff like that, and hope to make it better. And they're like, guys, God will fix it because they deserve to be together. But it's like they don't deserve to be together. She deserved to find someone better than him, and he deserved to date trash because the character was trash. That's just my opinion. And then after that is Kelly and Jason, and basically they are at his hearing, and they're deciding what they're gonna do. So they basically decide that they're gonna not postpone, but they're gonna set a date for another hearing or whatever. I don't remember. It's like this thing where like they're not making a decision yet, so they're gonna do it at a different time. And then he's basically still dating Camille, and you didn't realize that until you see them like kissing. But he ends up like thanking her for like coming to the hearing and everything because like she was like his support system or whatever. But oh yeah, one thing I don't understand was like, how would you like know if they were getting back together if they didn't even have to talk? I mean, it shouldn't have been a surprise. Personally, I believe if a person is not talking to you about getting back together or anything, or if you when you reach out and they don't even answer, I personally know they get back together. So I don't think she should have been that shocked. But at the same time, they gave vibes that they were going to get back together, so the audience was shocked and everything. And then after that, there was like Rick and Tasha, and they were like mending their relationship back together. And honestly, just thought that was so cute because I feel like their characters are just so compatible together. And I just feel like they should have like, I hope, like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like I feel like out of everybody that I'm rooting for in the show, I would say I'm rooting for Rick and Tasha, and I'm also like kind of rooting for like um crap. I'm also rooting for, what's their name, Jason and Kelly. I'm also rooting for them too. I'm not rooting for Derwin and Melanie because Melanie deserves better. How would I rate the show at this point in season? I feel like I would rate this an 8 out of 10, but that's mostly for like Rick and Tasha because I really like them. Or like a 6 out of 10, but I'm leaning towards 8 out of 10. But no, it's not because of Darren and Melanie. I don't like them together, and I think they made an awful couple, and they should have never gotten married, or they should have never gotten back together. But that's my opinion, but I'm giving it 8 out of 10 because I really enjoyed watching Rick and Tasha, and I thought that like the banter between Jason and Kelly was like funny, but I could never really picture Jason being with anybody else during like the show, because every time you just like, it was like their chemistry, like you would see them with other characters, you see them being around and everything because like they were divorced and everything, but you could never really see them with anybody else. It was just like they're just like magnets, they're just gonna come back to each other. Like how many times they've like divorced or separated, they just come back together because their chemistry is just so good and you just can't picture them with anybody else. Yeah, and then on top of that, you can also see the pain in Kelly's eyes when she sees like him and Camille, and then you kind of realize that she does want to get back together, but that's gonna be hard because he's with Camille now. So I wonder how that's gonna go. And then after that, you kind of see like the baby and everything, and like Janae and Durham's baby, and then they're like seeing like the baby, and then he's like, oh, I named him so and so, and da 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 da, and then she's kind of like come to like the realization that he's gonna be like the first kid and everything, and that she'll never truly be first and everything, and then he's kind of like saying it out loud too, and they're both like coming to the realization that she's never truly gonna be first. But the thing is, but she had to realize that she was never going to be truly first because he was constantly cheating on her, had a baby on her, and all that stuff. And all she wanted to do was to be the wife, be the one to have the first child of him. She needed to realize in order for her to literally have the bare minimum of being the first wife or having the first child or just like having a combination of both of those things, she needed to like be with a man that doesn't cheat on her, she can trust, she can communicate with, can take accountability, and doesn't have children, doesn't lie, blame everything on her, and she can have a peaceful life with. But no, she chose to get married to Darwin and everything. And yeah. But one thing I kind of wonder is that if they ever did get married when he asked the first time, would this have happened? And my thing is yes. I personally believe it would have happened because at the end of the day, his character can't take accountability, he lies and he cheats. And it's like, if a person that's all of these things and it doesn't change, no matter if you get married first or whatever, especially when you get married and everything, it's not gonna change. Just because, okay, just because you get like married to a person, it's not gonna change. It's not gonna like make a difference. He's still gonna do it. So like I said, it didn't matter if they got married first when he first asked her, or the second time or the third time. His character's just always been trash. Especially where like he would literally randomly blame the football world, and it's like just because you're in a football world doesn't mean that you have to cheat. Like yes, on the show they make a lot of jokes about how much the men cheat and everything, and the women just take it. But it's like it doesn't matter how successful or how rich you are or anything. You don't have to cheat on your wife just to, I don't know, whatever the reason for cheaters cheat for. You don't have to do that. You could just be a good husband, be a good boyfriend, and stay faithful and stay loyal. Because at the end of the day, one thing they never point out is the hypocrisy of the show. It's like the men will cheat and they will say nothing, but when it comes to the women, it's all hell breaks loose, and it's just like not right. And it's like all you have to do is just be loyal. It doesn't matter if you make $1 million, $1 billion, just be loyal and just be faithful. Personally, I'm believing reciprocity, and I'm believing like if you stay loyal to me, I'm gonna stay loyal to you. Because at the end of the day, if I'm with someone loyal and everything, I have no reason to be out there and do things. I would just be loyal and be faithful. And that's one of the things his character never really got. It was just that he was like around a lot of dudes, and those dudes would like be like, oh, it's okay. But if it was their wife, all hell would break loose. And I just did not like that about the show. And that's just one of the things I always hated, especially when they would make jokes about it. It was just really annoying. So that's just my opinion on seasons 1, 2. No, not season 1 and 2. That's just my opinion on season 3 of the game. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Love ya.